Taoiseach, on a personal level, I want to wish you well. Politics can be tough and it takes its toll. I think that we can all understand that. But Taoiseach, a new Fine Gael leader isn't going to address the fact that the writing is on the wall for this government. Clearly, you can see that as well as the rest of us. Throughout 14 years in office, Fine Gael have failed to tackle the major issue facing this country. In housing, also in healthcare, disability services and climate action. Another Fine Gael Taoiseach isn't going to address any of this, because if we're going to address any of these issues, we need a change in approach. At this point, 4 years into the government's term, the Taoiseach stepping down doesn't instil confidence in the public in the future of this government. And it's clear that this government don't believe the public have confidence in them either. Taoiseach, it is in that context that the next Taoiseach should be elected by the electorate, not by Fine Gael. Because Fine Gael's track record is one of record house prices, record rents, record homelessness, an entire generation locked out of home ownership or secure housing. Yet another generation forced onto planes in Dublin, Cork and Shannon Airport. With 21,000 people forced to leave Australia last year because they did not see a future for themselves here. This government claims over and over again that housing is its #1 priority, but where is the evidence? Week after week, you and the Taoiseach come before the House defensive over broken promises and missed targets. But the reality on the ground is clear to everyone. The government has failed to address the housing crisis, has failed to address the #1 issue facing Ireland today. Taoiseach, I listened to your speech earlier and you spoke about how during your term in office the country's finances went from a deficit to a surplus. And that is the truly frustrating reality of Fine Gael. That even with an €8 billion surplus, our health service is on its knees with a chronic trolley crisis in the Midwest, a nationwide shortage of GPs and a recruitment freeze that is preventing the expansion of healthcare services that we truly need. Disability services are threadbare. They are shameful and they are ruining people's lives. Waiting lists for an assessment of need are preventing children from getting crucial early intervention. People simply cannot access children's disability network teams. Some people can't access education. We have the lowest employment rates for disabled people in the EU, and we are so far off reaching our climate targets. And money isn't the issue. Your approach of throwing money at the private market to fix these issues in all of these areas is tried, tested, and it has failed. We do not need a continuation of this approach. We don't need a new Fine Gael Taoiseach. We need a new government. We need a general election.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy Cairns, and thanks once again for your kind words on a personal level, and as somebody who's a new TD and a party leader. You've made a meteoric and dramatic rise in politics, and I do wish you the best too in the future, and I mean that, because we need to have new people and young people in politics. The work of the government will continue. I think I've made that clear, as of the three party leaders, the parties that make up the majority in this Dáil. And any government has to be bigger than any one person that's in it, and this government always has been. And I've no doubt that it will do its work perhaps better under future leadership than it has to date. We've faced a lot of challenges since I first took that minibus out to the Irish back in 2011. Enormous challenges. We had mass unemployment. People were leaving the country in droves because they couldn't find employment, and we've turned that around. We had a big budget deficit, and maybe people forget what that means. It's not a numerical thing. It meant that we sat down as ministers every couple of months writing a budget. How do we cut another 400 million? How do we take 600 million out of that? Opposition parties even had to produce policies showing how they would cut spending. Just think how different that would be for you now if you were to produce policy papers on that basis as to how you would raise taxes and cut spending. they are the kind of things that we have to do. You mentioned immigration. For the last couple of years anyway, immigration is very much a two-way street. There are as many Irish citizens coming home as there are leaving. That was not the case back in 2011 or 2012 or 2013. Indeed, one of the reasons why the rents were so much lower was because there were so many empty apartments and houses in the city of Dublin and in other cities, because people had to leave to find employment. We had to deal with Brexit, the enormous challenge of preventing a hard border between North and South, an enormous challenge. 3 deals had to be negotiated with the British government to secure that, all of which under my term as Taoiseach. We had a pandemic, one of the best performing countries in the world, both in terms of lives saved and jobs protected. And we've come through, I believe now, a very serious cost of living and inflation crisis, which is now coming to an end. And the truth is, Deputy, we're never going to wake up in a country that doesn't have problems or challenges. There will always be problems and challenges. There will always be a crisis, and if not one, there'll be 2 or 3. That perfect country that has no problems, it doesn't exist. Only exists in fairy tales. And we should be honest with the public about that. And yes, an enormous challenge we face is housing, and we worked very hard on that. Supply, double now what it was when I first became Taoiseach, and I think it can double again. First-time buyers buying homes now at a rate we haven't seen in nearly 20 years, and social housing being built at a rate we haven't seen since before either you or I were born. And I wish we could have done more and done faster. Absolutely I do. And my biggest regret, if there is one, is that it's not possible to solve all the country's problems at once. But we'll keep working on it.
One of the biggest problems for this government is just not being able to acknowledge the issues that people are facing, and to refer to them as, if they were addressed to be fairy tales, is farcical. It's not a fairy tale to have access to disability services. It's not a fairy tale to be able to own a home in this country. None of these things should be considered fairy tales. And the problem is that on this journey that you're speaking about, of going from deficit to surplus, people have been left behind. And when you have that surplus, you're not using it to address those issues. And actually, you're not even willing to acknowledge that they are issues. We need a real change in Ireland, and the kind that can only be brought about by a general election. We need to give people in this country a say in who will be the next person to lead this country, who will form the next government, and what their mandate will be. A change in leadership in Fine Gael isn't going to solve the problems we face as a country across housing, health services, disability services and climate. In fact, it feels like there's a high possibility it will make them worse. Ultimately, there will be no change in approach to the disastrous policy decisions that have brought people to this point. Calling an election now is the only way out of this mess for so many people. You say that you have had success in government. Well, go to the people on that basis. That is what democracy is all about. Let them decide if they want to send another Fine Gael leader back to government.
Taoiseach.
I'm always willing to acknowledge the problems the country faces and the very real problems that people have in their lives, and I do so pretty much on a daily basis, or at least I have done for 13 years now. And yes, I acknowledge the problems that we face when it comes to housing, the deep crisis that exists there for so many people, the cost of living, the challenges around migration. I acknowledge all of those problems. But Deputy, I pay attention to what you say a lot and what your party says. And you say you stand for one of 3 principles. One of your 3 principles is that the Social Democrats stand for honest politics. So why was it necessary to misrepresent and twist my words in the way that I did? Why was that necessary? I said a perfect world, a perfect country in which there are never any problems. That's the fairy tale. That's what I said. You heard what I said. And the truth is, now look. I just play it back and look in the mirror and ask yourself whether you engage in honest politics there or not. And my fear, Deputy, and I think there's potential in you, and I think there's potential in your party, but my fear, a lot of potential. But my fear is an obvious one: is that you are very much a politician of the social media age, and it's not about truth, it's not about information, it's about the clip to put online. And if that means misinformation or disinformation, well, if it gets me more clicks and likes, well then more of it.